Hello there, welcome to Rajya Sabha TV Breakfast News, broadcasting you news from India and across the globe. My name is Aishwarya and these are our top stories. First anniversary of demonetization, Prime Minister says 125 crore Indians fought a decisive battle and won. Finance Minister counters opposition charge, says the nation on path of a cleaner, honest financial system. Election Commission bans exit poll for Himachal and Gujarat till 14th of December. High voltage campaigning for Himachal ends. Voting on Thursday. Schools in national capital closed. IMA declares a health emergency as Delhi grapples with the worst air quality this year. Poor visibility hits road and air traffic. Syria to join a Paris climate agreement. Announcement at UN Climate Change Conference in Germany. This leaves United States as the only country to not sign the landmark deal. And India wins T20 series against New Zealand. Boxers Mary Kom and Sonia Lather enter the final of Asia Women's Boxing Championships. It is the first anniversary of demonetization today. It is on this date last year that Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced the demonetization of high-value 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. The government will today observe the day as Anti-Black Money Day. Union ministers are visiting across the country to highlight the crackdown on black money. Many of them will speak to media in major cities. The opposition, however, is observing the day as Black Day. And on the eve of the first anniversary of the government's ambitious demonetization move, reactions poured in from all corners of the country. Among the prominent voices were Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, who called it a historic move. However, former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh claimed that the note ban and the GST decisions broke the back of small businesses. Here is a report.
The status quo in Indian economy was begging for a shake-up, and Prime Minister Modi's government delivered it through demonetization.
We have decided that the 500 rupee and 1,000 rupee currency notes presently in use will no longer be legal tender from midnight to night, that is 8th November 2016.
That's how the finance minister summed up the note ban decision that completes 1 year on Wednesday. Jaitley also said the impact of the structural reforms like demonetization and the rollout of the goods and services tax is behind us, and the early economic indicators point to an improvement.
कोई demonetization one off solution है कि इससे सारा समस्या हल हो जाएगी, ऐसा नहीं है. लेकिन इसने एक एजेंडा बदला और उस बदले एजेंडा में लेस कैश इकोनॉमी की तरफ हम जाएं. नंबर ऑफ इंडिविजुअल टैक्स असेसीज, उसकी संख्या नॉर्मल की तुलना में बढ़ने लगी. डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शंस बढ़े हैं.
Jaitley once again reminded that India has been a fast-moving global economy for 3 years in a row and ripe for more structural reforms.
देश की अर्थव्यवस्था और देश के व्यापक भविष्य के लिए जो यथास्थितिवाद स्टेटस को था, उसको बदलना अति अनिवार्य था. जब एक्सेसिव कैश ट्रांजैक्शन होता है तो वो टैक्स इवेजन को भी न्योता दिया जाता है.
The finance minister reiterated that demonetization drastically reduced insurgent activities in Jammu and Kashmir, where stone throwers are no longer so active.
टेरर फंडिंग के ऊपर एक बड़ा स्क्वीज लगा है.
The opposition refused to accept Jaitley's arguments. Addressing a gathering in Ahmedabad, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh called demonetization a monumental blunder that was followed up by a badly designed and implemented GST.
The 8th of November was a black day for our economy and indeed for our democracy. I remember feeling shocked when I heard the Prime Minister's announcement, and I wondered who advised him to inflict such a reckless step on our nation.
On November 8 last year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced the decision to demonetize old 500 and 1,000 rupee notes to combat corruption, black money, terrorism and fake currency. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And the Prime Minister's office has said that demonetization has helped to check a growth in the high-value notes. Now, in a series of tweets, the PMO said that in the absence of demonetization, the value of a high-denomination currency would have been 18 lakh crore rupees or 50% more than it was as of September end this year. The PMO also said that the decrease in high-denomination notes has helped stem corruption and funding of terrorism. The Prime Minister also tweeted 125 crore Indians fought a decisive battle and won. He said, "I bow to the people of India for steadfastly supporting the several measures taken by the government to eradicate corruption and black money." Well, India's shift towards a digital economy where dependency on cash is significantly reduced is taking steady steps. Now, cashless transactions have surged since demonetization, and several initiatives unveiled by the government are encouraging people to go cashless. Take a look at this report.
To break the grip of corruption and black money, we have decided that the 500 rupee and 1,000 rupee currency notes presently in use will no longer be legal tender from midnight to night, that is 8th November 2016.
On the first anniversary of demonetization, the focus on digital payments is escalating digital commerce in the country. There are now over 800 million debit cards and over 30 million credit cards in the market. Almost every household has access to a digital form of payment. But the success of an efficient digital India hinges on the inclusion of rural areas into the digital framework.
This is not a mobile phone where there are two buttons, red color and green color, which everybody can recognize. Here, how to use friendly application, how to use credit card, how to use online transaction, lot of things are there which we have to educate to the rural people.
The low penetration of point-of-sale terminals or credit swipe machines is making debit cards less attractive. While there are 700 million debit cards, only 2.5 million POS machines exist for these cards, and they are all concentrated in large metros. The rapid digitization in all sectors has also made India critically prone to targeted cyber attacks,
for which we need to create a very strong cyber security framework, as well as we need to equip our police agencies, investigation agencies to investigate and to detect them, and so that it should have a deterrent effect over the cyber.
According to the Payments Council of India, the growth rate of the digital payments industry, that was earlier in the range of 20 to 50%, has accelerated post-demonetization to 40 to 70%. Total payments via digital instruments are expected to touch $500 billion by 2020. Even Morgan Stanley expects digitization to provide a boost of 50 to 75 base points to the GDP growth. It has forecast that India will grow to a $6 trillion economy and achieve upper middle income status by 2026-27. The government hopes that robust digital payments ecosystem will transform the country by draining the swamp of illicit monetary transactions.
Though digital modes of payment have prospered, stark regional disparities still exist. For instance, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana saw a growth of over 30% in cash transactions, while Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan saw a meager 15% growth. We need to seize this opportunity to play a lead role in the transformation towards a digital world. Reporting from Delhi with camera person Manoj, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
And now let's get you all the election-related news in Verdict 2017. The Election Commission has banned exit poll for Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat Assembly elections till the evening of 14th of December. The single-phased Assembly elections in Himachal Pradesh will be held tomorrow, while the first phase of polls in Gujarat will take place on 9th of December and the second phase on 14th of December. The poll body has said that exit polls showing outcome of Himachal Pradesh polls cannot be shown till both the phases of Gujarat polls are completed. The poll panel also said that displaying any election matter, including results of an opinion poll or any other poll survey in any electronic media, would be prohibited 48 hours prior to the election day. And campaigning for the elections to the 68-member Himachal Pradesh Assembly ended yesterday. Elections to the State Assembly will take place on 9th of November. Meanwhile, all special arrangements have been made for the smooth conduct of the poll. The BJP is fighting under the leadership of Prem Kumar Dhuman, while the Congress's campaign is being led by Chief Minister Veerbhadra Singh.
Campaigning for the Himachal Pradesh Assembly election came to an end on Tuesday. After 2 weeks of extensive campaigning in the form of public rallies, both BJP and Congress intensified their door-to-door campaigning. The Election Commission has made special arrangements for peaceful and fair elections to be held on November 9th.
हमारे 24 पोलिंग सेशंस ऐसे हैं जहां पे 5 किलोमीटर से ज्यादा चल के जाना पड़ता है, तो उन सभी का ध्यान रखा गया है और उसमें हम ये भी ध्यान रखते हैं कि पार्टीज को समय पे मूव किया जाए जिससे वो समय पर पहुंच सके। इसके साथ ही उन एरियाज में कनेक्टिविटी बनाए रखने के लिए विशेष प्रावधान किए गए हैं। कुछ पोलिंग सेशंस ऐसे हैं जहां पर हमें हेलीकॉप्टर के माध्यम से या बोट के माध्यम से भी पोलिंग पार्टीज को और इलेक्शन मटेरियल को पहुंचाना पड़ेगा।
The election in the state will be conducted at all polling stations using EVMs and VVPATs. The Commission has already made arrangements to ensure availability of an adequate number of EVMs and VVPATs. Security arrangements have also been made for the smooth conduct of the election.
हिमाचल प्रदेश के बॉर्डर चेक पोस्ट हैं जो इंटर स्टेट बॉर्डर्स हैं, उन सभी पर सेंट्रल पैरामिलिट्री फोर्सेस की निगरानी रखी जा रही है। सभी पर कैमरास लगाए गए हैं, कैमरा के माध्यम से भी निगाह रखी जा रही है। उसके अतिरिक्त विशेष प्रबंध किए जाते हैं आखिर के 72 आवर्स और 42 आवर्स में, तो उसके लिए भी विशेष प्रावधान किए जा रहे हैं कि किसी भी तरह से वोटर्स को ना डराया जा सके और ना ही उसे प्रलोभन दिया जा सके।
हमारे यहाँ पे संवेदनशील बूथ 17 हैं, सेंसिटिव, और वहाँ पर सभी बूथ के ऊपर माइक्रो ऑब्जर्वर रहेंगे या फिर वेबकास्टिंग होगी। वो एक अलग अलग कैटेगरीज हैं कि कुछ बूथ पे माइक्रो ऑब्जर्वर हैं, कुछ पे वेबकास्टिंग है, कुछ में वीडियोग्राफी है, और जो बाकी के बच जाते हैं उनमें प्रिजाइडिंग ऑफिसर द्वारा फोटोग्राफी की जाएगी।
Himachal Pradesh has 50,25,941 registered voters. Voting on all 68 state seats is scheduled to take place on November 9th. Out of the 338 candidates in the fray, 19 are women. The Congress and BJP are the main contenders. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
News from poll-bound Gujarat now. BJP President Amit Shah inaugurated the party's 6-day Gujarat Gaurav Mahasampark Abhiyan ahead of the next month's assembly polls by knocking on the voters' doors with a message of development. In a written message addressed to the people of Gujarat, Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged them to remember what the state was before the BJP assumed power in 1995 and appealed to the voters to vote for his party to carry forward the journey of development that began 22 years back. Through the door-to-door campaign, the ruling party plans to reach out to voters in 50,000-odd booths in the state. Shah launched the campaign from Naranpura constituency, from where he was an MLA earlier. He will undertake extensive tour of the interiors of poll-bound Gujarat, where he is expected to meet party workers as well. Shah will visit Junagadh, Porbandar, Gir, Somnath, Bharuch, Narmada, Anand, Khera and Mahisagar. Polling for the two-phase elections in Gujarat will take place on 9th and 14th of December, and the counting of votes will be held on 18th of December. Those were the election-related news. Time for a very short break here. We'll be back with more news.
You're severing the ties with Trinamool Congress is almost like a child getting separated from its umbilical cord.
Regarding party line, I have got a difference with the Trinamool Congress, and imposition of dynasty rule.
But when you were always walking by the side of Mamata Banerjee, were you not in a position to convince her that, look, your party doesn't need to shift stance?
She doesn't believe to talk to others. She takes her decision alone.
By allowing Mr. Mukul Roy to join BJP, the party somewhere will have to surrender its anti-corruption plank.
I have never been accused. Law will take its own course.
Why did the master strategist of Trinamool Congress join BJP? Watch To The Point with Mukul Roy, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back after the break. News from Jammu and Kashmir now. On the day 2 of his visit to the Kashmir Valley on Tuesday, Centre's Special Representative on Kashmir, Dineshwar Sharma, held a series of meetings with civil society and youth groups. Sharma, a former director of the Intelligence Bureau, is on a 5-day visit to the state for dialogue with all the stakeholders. He is spending 3 days in the Kashmir Valley and 2 days in Jammu, where he will hold talks with Governor N.N. Vohra, Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti and various delegations. All the separatist groups, however, have ruled out talks with Sharma. The Opposition National Conference has termed the outreach a half-hearted measure for resolving the Kashmir issue. Today, Sharma is likely to meet political leaders in Srinagar.
यहाँ पर कोई आपको सेल्फ रूल की बात करेगा, कोई आज़ादी की बात करेगा, कोई ऑटोनॉमी की बात करेगा, लेकिन लोगों को क्या परेशानियां हैं, लोग क्या-क्या परेशानियां झेल रहे हैं, वो बातें कोई नहीं करेगा। इस वजह से हम जो है ग्राउंड लेवल की प्रॉब्लम्स जो हैं, जो हमारे गांव के अंदर तमाम डेवलपमेंटल प्रोसेस हमारा रुक चुका है, हमारा तमाम सिस्टम, वहां पर स्टेट गवर्नमेंट कहीं पर भी नजर नहीं आती है।
And on to some other news now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Belgian King Philip in New Delhi on Tuesday. The two leaders held talks to strengthen bilateral ties between both the nations. Now, as per official data, India is Belgium's second largest export destination and the third largest trade partner outside EU. In 2016-17, exports from India to Belgium accounted for $5.65 billion, while imports from Belgium accounted for $6.62 billion. Now, this is King Philip's first state visit to India after his ascension to the throne in 2013. He is accompanied by 6 ministers and a high-powered business delegation comprising CEOs of 86 Belgian companies. The Belgian king and his wife, Queen Mathilde, were also accorded a ceremonial reception at the Rashtrapati Bhavan earlier on Tuesday.
We hope to improve the very good contacts that already exist and in so many sectors, because I think in today's globalized world there is a lot we can do together with the young people, universities, research centers, all kinds of sectors, cultural sectors, whatever. So for us it's a unique occasion and we are extremely happy to be here.
And Belgian King Philip will participate in the India-Belgium Business Forum at CIA headquarters in the national capital today. Later in the day, he is also expected to meet Commerce and Industry Minister Suresh Prabhu. On Tuesday, the visiting dignitary met President Ramnath Kovind at Rashtrapati Bhavan. Now, both of them discussed the ways to boost overall cooperation between the two countries. Belgian King also met with Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu. Senior officials from both the sides were also present on the occasion. During the meeting, the Vice President drew the attention of a growing menace of terror across the globe. The Vice President also suggested to the Belgian King that India believes in an early conclusion of negotiation and adoption of the Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism at the United Nations. The Belgian King has expressed support to India's view in this regard. And on to some other news now. Well, Delhi woke up to pollution-related heavy smog on the second day today. Now, primary section of the city's all municipal schools are closed today in view of deteriorating air quality. Schools have also been instructed to stop outdoor activities, including holding morning assemblies. Now, in a series of emergency measures, the Supreme Court appointed Environment Pollution and Control Authority ordered a 4-time hike in parking fee and a cut in metro fare. On Tuesday, Delhi recorded the season's worst air quality with a score of 448 on a scale of 500, as a combined effect of smoke from stubble burning and moisture-related intensity. And all of these factors turned the city into a gas chamber, leaving people gasping for air.
A choking blanket of smoke covered the national capital region on Tuesday, while air quality dropped to hazardous levels. Visibility in Delhi NCR dropped sharply as the thick smoke enveloped the city throughout the day. Flight operations at the Delhi airport were affected, leading to delays as only one of the 3 runways could be used.
In the runway, we were stuck for almost half an hour in Kochi itself to 45 minutes, and then the pilot told it's because of the smoke and pollution in Delhi that the permission is not obtained. And even in the flight, it was again delayed for another 15 to 30 minutes, I think, and almost we reached here at 11:30 instead of, 11:15, 11:30 instead of 10. So almost 1.5 delay just because of this pollution and smoke. So
the centre expressed concern over the alarming situation, saying it is monitoring the situation.
चिंता का कारण है जब एक बार ये 400 से ऊपर क्रॉस करता है एयर क्वालिटी इंडेक्स तो ये सीवियर जोन में आ जाता है। 300 से 400 वेरी पुअर स्टेज में है। स्वास्थ्य पर इसका असर पड़ने की संभावनाएं रहती हैं। भारत सरकार इस पर चिंतित है और लगातार नजर रख रही 24 घंटे इस पर नजर रखी जा रही है।
Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal described the city as a gas chamber, attributing the pollution to crop burning in adjoining states. The Indian Medical Association also hit the panic button, declaring Delhi a public health emergency state.
IMA declares Delhi in a public health emergency state. स्कूल बंद हो जाने चाहिए, लोग घरों से बाहर नहीं निकलने चाहिए, खासकर एल्डरली, प्रेग्नेंट लेडीज, बच्चे, हार्ट के पेशेंट, अस्थमा के पेशेंट, बाकी सब लोगों को भी प्रिकॉशंस लेनी चाहिए।
The Indian Meteorological Department said no let-up was expected in the smog conditions over the next 3 days.
This type of scenario we are expecting for another 3 days. Due to that, we have given warning for another 3 days for dense to very dense fog for Punjab, Haryana, including Delhi, northern parts of Rajasthan and some parts of West UP.
As Delhi reeled under heavy smoke, the National Green Tribunal slammed the governments of Delhi, Uttar Pradesh and Haryana, asking them to explain why preventive steps were not taken to control the air quality. It also asked the Central Pollution Control Board to state what emergency directions it had issued to tackle the situation. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Time for some international news now. Syria is all set to join the Paris Agreement, leaving the United States as the only nation in the world opting to stay outside the landmark treaty. According to the Syrian parliament website, a bill was passed on 22nd of October to ratify the Paris Accord. Remember, the US ratified the accord, but US President Donald Trump later announced earlier this year that he would pull out. The development comes even as the United Nations is hosting the annual climate change conference in Bonn in Germany. The purpose of the 2-week meeting, led by Fiji, known as the 23rd Conference of the Parties, is to negotiate and outline how to implement the Paris Agreement on climate change that was signed in December 2015 to reduce greenhouse gases. And with the US pulling out of the Paris Agreement, many are now looking at China to fill the leadership role and drive the negotiations of the climate change, with the Chinese President Xi Jinping saying that China is ready to take on the mantle.
I mean, even if things are moving, we still have a really big basic problem that we need to deal with. And I think it's not so much that the number changes, because they don't change very much, but one more year has passed. And I think the thing is that timing matters an awful lot, that if you do not get started in terms of bending the emissions curve and starting to get it down, it becomes increasingly difficult to still talk about this 1.5 and 2 degrees. So that's why we're sort of saying it's not just about the gap, but it's also about the timing in relation to when you start doing something.
News from the Korean Peninsula now. On a 12-day Asia tour, US President Donald Trump is addressing South Korea's National Assembly. Now, this is the first such address by an American head of state since 1993. Earlier on Tuesday, shortly after arriving in South Korea, Donald Trump travelled by helicopter to Camp Humphreys, which is a military base near Seoul. After reviewing American military forces along the Korean Peninsula, Donald Trump dined with the US and South Korean soldiers. Later, Donald Trump held talks with his South Korean counterpart, Moon Jae-in, And in a joint press conference, Donald Trump urged North Korea to come to the table and discuss giving up its nuclear weapons. Trump wrapped up the first day of his state visit to South Korea with a banquet hosted by his counterpart Moon Jae-in. After South Korea, Donald Trump will be going to China, Vietnam and the Philippines in the coming week. Let's get you some more news from across the globe. Here is the World Wrap. The death toll from typhoon downpours and floods wreaking havoc along Vietnam's south-central coast has risen to 70. Parts of Vietnam remain submerged on Tuesday, just a day before Summit of Asia-Pacific Leaders kicks off in Da Nang. While Da Nang itself was spared the worst damage, muddy floodwaters have submerged the hardest-hit provinces and has swamped nearby Hoi An, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Residents and tourists in the ancient city of Hoi An made their way around inundated streets on boats. Saudi Arabia's anti-corruption crackdown is expanding beyond the list of princes, billionaires and officials already arrested. The central bank is asking banks in the kingdom to freeze accounts of dozens of individuals who are not under arrest so far. The Saudi Attorney General said on Monday that weekend arrests of princes, businessmen and officials were only phase one of an anti-corruption drive that has rattled the kingdom and has shocked the investors. Islamic State military group on Tuesday claimed responsibility for an attack on a television station in Kabul in which gunmen disguised as police killed a security guard and opened fire on staff. Afghan security forces surpassed the attack on Shamshad TV. After about 2 hours, at least 5 people were killed and 21 others were injured in the attack. The killed include a security guard, a female worker of the TV station and 2 attackers. And Twitter plans to increase the number of characters in tweets from 140 to 280 for majority of the users. However, the new limit will not apply to tweets written in Japanese, Chinese and Korean. The move follows a trial among a small group of users which started in September in response to criticism that it was not easy enough to tweet. The change is part of Twitter's plan to attract new users and increase growth. Time for all the sporting action now. And ace Indian boxer Mary Kom and Sonia Lather have entered the final of the Asia Women's Boxing Championships in Ho Chi Minh City of Vietnam. Now, 5-time world champion Mary Kom defeated Japan's Tsubasa Komura 5-0 in the 48-kilogram category in the semi-final. Mary Kom will now face North Korea's Kim Yang-mi today. While her compatriot Sonia Lather also entered the final in the 57-kilogram category. 5 other Indians settled for bronze medals at the Continental Game. The players are former world champion Sarita Devi, Priyanka Chaudhary, Lovlina Bogorina, Sina Punya and Shiksha. And India defeated New Zealand in the final T20 International to win the 3-match series. The hosts won the match by 6 runs to back the series 2-1. Now, chasing a victory target of 67 for 5 by India, the visitors managed only 61 runs for 6 in their 8 overs. Team India had won the first game at Delhi's Firozshah Kotla Stadium by 53 runs before the Kiwis equalled the series with a 40-run victory at Rajkot. And that's it from me and my team in this edition of news. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day ahead.